Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Monday Mornings with Michael. Today is April 4th, 2022, and we're super excited to have you here with us and to get going really with this new month of April. It is crazy how we are already here. We just finished quarter one, which is the first 3 months of the year, and now we are already headed into the second quarter. Can you believe that? It is insane. Well, we wanted to jump in and just wish you all a very happy and uplifting, encouraging, and hopefully motivating Monday morning. This past weekend was, it was a pretty good weekend, so hopefully the same for yourself. Hopefully you got some time to relax, have some fun, and just prepare for what's to come. I did a lot of yard work this past weekend. I trimmed a lot of, not even our trees, it was the neighbors' trees because they don't trim their trees. So I did that a lot yesterday up on a 12-foot ladder up on our roof as well, just going. But I didn't have to go to the gym or work out, so there's a plus in that. And then this morning I got to see them scoop up and take away all of what I spent a couple hours yesterday doing. But regardless, we hope that you had a nice weekend and that you are ready for what is to come, not only in this upcoming week, but this next quarter, so the next 3 months. And typically, like previous to this business, I never really looked at life in quarters. It's not something you do unless you're like in the business world where you have like targets to hit after each quarter and you're like, we need to go. We're coming up to the end of the quarter, the new quarter. And it just sounds insane. So even for myself, like getting used to that now, I'm like, I know what it means and I know what it is, but still sounds silly. Although what was really helpful though was this past week on our podcast, we actually did a recap of everything we've done in this past quarter, as well as where we're headed for the new quarter. So in that sense, it was actually super helpful as we began looking back and we're like, wait, well, we actually did quite a bit. Like not only did we launch it, but we got this started and the business side and the podcast. We had 10 episodes, which that's pretty good for every week as we went, as well as the first week we had like an intro to the business. So actually 11, that one was the 11th one. So it was just crazy to look back and see like, wow, we actually did a lot. But then like, where are we going for this new quarter? And that was what we announced. So we'll say here, because not only we announced it on the podcast, we also posted it on our profile here. So it's not a surprise anymore, but Fisher Philbrook Kids, that is the new project we're going to be doing. The overall description is where kids can grow in their knowledge, creativity, and imagination, and where you're never too old to be a kid. Something about that was just so exciting for us to, not only conceptualize the whole overall idea of Fisher Philbrook Kids, but like really narrowing it down with that description of like, what are we wanting to do as we push forward with this? Because we, don't want to just create like fun kid stuff and like, yay, like here's another coloring book and here's this and here's this. But we wanted to really focus in on like, what can we do? What good can we bring to this? Where can we go within our own company and the overall missions that we already have, and really push this forward to get us kicked off. So that's what we came down to. A lot of it, I think, like for myself personally, is seeing that like learning can be fun, and learning new things, growing in your knowledge is not only, super important, but it really keeps you going in life and allows you to grow. And you should always be continuing to learn, which is also why we added the, you're never too old to be a kid, because a lot of these mentalities and things we're going to be sharing within this side of the business are very applicable, like for most people and wherever you are in life. Maybe you're not an itty bitty kid, but we would say there can still be a kid within you. And then the creativity and imagination parts of that description were just really fun, because if you notice, like as you were a kid, like that is one of the times when you are the most creative, the most imagination, where you're encouraged to be creative. You are encouraged to have an imagination. You can have an imaginary friend as a kid, but once you're an adult, you are going to be put on medication or locked up in a straitjacket. So not even saying that that is the only part of your imagination as an adult is being mentally ill. But stuff like that, where when you are a kid, like it is just so much encouraged. And then as soon as you start getting older, it's Are you going to college? Are you getting a job? What job are you getting? Is the job enough money to pay for this? Are you going to have a family? Or is it, boom, 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 boom. It's no longer a lot of these things that are so important, and that is what makes childhood so much fun, or a big part of that, besides all the stresses you don't have to deal with with all the money and the insurances and all of that. But we really do think that the creativity and imagination are such a big part, so that is something that we're going to be really pushing for and adding in within Fisher Philbrick Kids as we keep going. And as we kick it off, we are just super excited. The one thing that we are really going to be working on in these next 2 to 3 weeks is actually creating a group of characters that can then take us through at least this first part of the journey of Fisher Philbrick Kids. For myself, I did a lot of, research, but it was mostly for fun. But looking up Winnie the Pooh was something that when I was a kid was very popular, and then looking at it now, it is still very popular. There are rides at Disneyland all over, so much merchandise that you see these lovable characters were just able to take you through kind of your childhood, but also they could create books, movies, merchandise, gear, amusement rides. When you see how big it could get is what for myself was super exciting of we should look into this. The idea of creating characters that are memorable, lovable, that, have their flaws, which is something I wouldn't have thought of until, you keep looking into it, you're like, oh yeah, this character has this problem, this character has this problem. And you see how that is good because it really does show that, none of us are perfect. We all have our, falling downs, but with being a group and a community, you can lift each other up and really come in and have strengths that are other people's weaknesses. So that's something that we're going to be working on and creating as we go, which we actually haven't ever done before. I myself have never even done that. I create lots of doodles and have fun characters, but not this pinpoint specific of creating, character profiles of, who they are, what are their quirks, and what are their, where's the location, what are they going to be doing. And not that that has to stay the same and so constricted throughout everything we're doing, but at the same time, we need to have a good idea to get started. So that's what we'll be doing in the background. We also mentioned that we are taking a 1 to 2 week break from the podcast just so that we can really, focus in on all this Fisher Philbrick Kid stuff, because if you didn't know, or if you haven't done creative stuff, it takes a lot out of you just coming up with all of that. It is definitely fun, and using the creativity and imagination is great. But if you're so busy doing other things, then you eventually just run out of time because you're like, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then your personal life, I have to do this, and this. And then at the end of the day, you're like, I don't have time to be creative, or I'm too tired to be creative, or I just can't think now. My brain is mush. So we're watching a zombie show, so applicable there. So though that will be helpful as we take a break and can really focus on that. And then the other part to that is the Fisher Philbrick business side. And that's what we explain on the podcast if you are new to that concept. But Fisher Philbrick, let's say, is up here. And then underneath Fisher Philbrick, we have Fisher Philbrick Business, Fisher Philbrick Kids. And those are the 2 projects we're working on. Everything we've done so far is Fisher Philbrick Business. And then the kids part is the new part that's coming up. But a big part of Fisher Philbrick Business was that we need to interview business owners. That was when we set up the whole idea of the podcast and the show, and really the business overall, was, helping these small business owners and small shops start and build their businesses. But the biggest way that we could do that was through our Instagram Live show and the podcast. And if you are new to that idea, I actually introduced myself, going back to the multiple personalities maybe, introduced myself as a creator under M. Marlon White, which is my creative name, so that you could kind of have an idea. But basically we'll have the interview on here live. It'll split us in half, so I'll probably be lower, the business owner will be up there, and then we will hear about their business, their ups and downs, their journey, any encouragement they can give, motivation, really great stuff in hearing about them, but also allowing us to send more supporters their way, more customers, more followers, and then on the listener side, to encourage and motivate those who may be wanting to start their business but don't know how or don't think they can, and being like, look at this person, they are just like you. They didn't think they could do it, but they did. So that was originally how we had it planned, so that we could grow the podcast. And we, it was, I guess, my fault, not my fault, but my thinking that people would be super excited and would just sign up on their own, because it doesn't cost, it's free. You get an Instagram live interview, you get on the podcast, you get 2 to 3 posts, actual posts that will stay on our account. You'll be in our stories, we'll share your reels, and you get a blog post that is on our website that you can share and build SEO, has all your links, your shop links and everything. So to me, I was like, this is amazing. Who wouldn't want to do this? But it turns out, and I should know this because I have worked many jobs with many people. People, a lot of times, are not self-starters, even business owners, I guess. So we have changed the focus to we were just doing business segment podcasts, any day now, people are going to sign up, to, okay, no one is signing up. So we're going to pause all the work we're doing on the business segments, because those take 2 to 3 days from start of the idea for the episode to writing it, to editing it, to recording it, to editing, to posting. So that's quite a few days. So we're going to pause that and actually target and go out and find businesses to sign up, which was, the whole point of this, a big part of this. So that's what we are focusing on. And funny enough, because I usually talk about the networking on this, check-in too, I had an in-person networking meeting with someone in downtown San Jose this past week. It overall went well, so much better than the very first one, which you can listen a couple episodes back, where they brought me to this awful coffee shop with partially naked people. That's a good enough teaser, right? Yes, you're like, what? I want to hear. You probably don't, but don't worry. It's family friendly, I believe. But I met in person. I chose the location. So that was something I think I told you guys of that was something I learned that, yes, so much better, was that I need to choose where we're going and what's going to be happening. So I chose the location. It was very normal, and normal how it should be. You're meeting a business professional. But after we met, there was a bunch of pop-up shops right around the same area. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are businesses that would probably want to be interviewed, and I can talk to them in person. So I went up to a couple of different ones. I got their Instagrams. I started following them. I sent them a message. And excitingly enough, we already had one person sign up and officially apply to be interviewed. So that is super exciting, and we are thrilled, so much excitement. Because I try not to check the accounts and stuff on Sundays, at least one day of rest, right? So I checked this morning, and the person did officially apply. So hooray, super exciting. Hopefully we would set things up to have it be going for next Wednesday. So we'll have this week to prepare. I do today, it will be a lot of, I already have the whole timeline of how this application backend process will go, but actually ironing out everything so that I can send it over to this person. And then we'll see from there how it goes. But this will be really exciting as we go. One, because I'm learning, part of the reason why I think people weren't signing up was because they don't fully understand all that we're going to do for them and the benefit of this, as well as how fun it is, because you're talking about yourself, your story, you're getting your business out there for no cost, talking to me, which I would say I'm friendly and conversational, so it's not, terribly hard to do, but I don't think they really understand it. But I have that feeling that once we get the first person, the second person, the first few in there, it will start to make sense, the wheels turning together, and people where then they will actually start applying or reaching out, messaging us on their own, so that they can be a part of this awesome opportunity. And then for us, because a couple of people, they asked when I was messaging them, does it cost? And I'm like, no, it's actually free. And I was like, oh my goodness, this was such a good idea to have it for free, because I've gotten messages like that too, where people are like, do you want me to do this and this and this for your new book? I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. They're like, so you got to send me the book yourself, pay for shipping, pay for the book, and I'm going to charge you this much and this much and this much, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, no, I'm trying to make money. I don't have money to give you that likely won't do anything for me. So that was a really cool thing that I noticed now of like, oh my gosh, that's a really good selling point that we can say like, hey, no, we're not actually charging for this. But how it is working is as they reshare that the interview's coming up, that here's an article about me and my business, that will bring more people to this account, to listening to the podcast. And since our podcast is already monetized, then that will help the numbers grow, which means more pennies will start falling from the sky. And about the podcast, we are at $1.51. So that is 51 cents more than last week, which means that like 50 people have listened, or a few people that like listen a bunch of times, but we're going to say 50 people have listened to episodes since then, which actually seems like a lot for 1 week. I was like, shoot, it took us like a month to get to like the first 50 listens, or no, the first $1, I guess. I don't know. It was a lot. But now that switches down to like 50 cents in a week, that's $1 in 2 weeks. So as you can imagine, once we get more and more people, more businesses, more people pointing them to our business here and the podcast, it will really help us be ordered to start making money as a business. And then kind of for the networking, because we are like wrapping things up pretty soon, is that I'm kind of seeing that everyone already has their kind of own idea about networking, and a lot of it out there seems to be like people wanting things from you, people wanting to take part of your business. They want you to work for them, which is not like when you get on a call and they're like, so I'm doing this, can we bring you on? I'm like, no, that is not what we talked about at all. That's not what was anywhere in the conversation. Or they want to introduce you to someone else so you can work for them or jump on their project, or they want to take over your project, or I don't know. It's just like very weird where I'm like, I feel like no one actually wants to build like sustained and long-term business relationships. Like with our business now, like we do have free resources. So if you're a small business, we can actually provide a lot for you. But as you are looking bigger and bigger, like, hey, we're not there yet, but we're going to be headed there, as well as we're very resourceful. So if, it's worth building a relationship now, because who knows what's going to happen in the future, and maybe I can help you or maybe you can help me. But to do that, you actually have to build and keep a relationship. And that's something that so far I'm not finding through all the networking calls I'm doing. I do have one more tonight, and then I think maybe 1 or 2 more people I'm messaging. But from there, I'm kind of putting the brakes on it or pausing a bit, just because, it was very fun. It's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of, at least when you're meeting in person, like kind of stress of like figuring out where to meet, getting yourself there, trying to find a stranger you've never seen before, probably everything you go through if you've ever done online dating where you have to meet with people. So this is the networking side. So maybe that is helpful for me to see like, oh, you just get used to like, are you so-and-so? Oh, good. It's me. We have talked online type of a thing. But so we are going to be pausing that just a little bit. Not to say we won't keep looking, but we are really focusing now on these small business owners and small shops, finding those people that we can interview to really promote them, push them forward, get them more supporters, followers, customers, etc. The only good things I would say that we're learning from all this networking are kind of the bad things that we don't like. So the things I shared with you, and kind of figuring out like, oh, maybe we're the crazy ones, that everything I just explained about building these good relationships, and I would almost say friendships, because some of the people I've talked to, I'm like, I feel like we could be friends. Like you're on the other side of the country, or you're out of the country in like Canada, but I'm like, I feel like we're really connected. Like, let's stay in touch, or, we could be friends. And it's weird because you're not doing it to find friends, but it has that same feeling, because a relationship is a relationship. Just different boundaries maybe, but you get the same feel to it. So like maybe we are weird in that we're not, our focus is wrong, or we don't really know what a network is, but we're figuring out we're looking for more of a community and building that with these relationships within that community, which is something we want to do with Fisher Philbrick moving on once we start interacting with more business owners and building some sort of idea of maybe once they're on the show, then they can unlock a private locked section on our website that once they're in there, we can provide even more. So that's just an example. Nothing concrete yet, but everything now, and we would say like you can always be learning even from the bad of like, okay, this wasn't great, but I learned I don't like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I really don't like a lot of it. Okay, so how can we change it? How can we build and create our own thing? Okay, good. Let's go ahead and do that. So that is kind of what I'm taking out of networking. I don't know if that is like good to know, because I feel like before, I do think it is important to, expand your network, get to know more people. But at the same time, if it's not bringing you any good results, maybe take a pause on that, which is kind of what we want to leave you with as we finish things up and wish you the very best start to your week on Monday. It's kind of that idea of like last week we left you with, like, don't be afraid to make some changes and like maybe you can make good even better. This week, which is when I was thinking of it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, be okay with being like, hey, we need to stop. We need to pause this right now. We need to take a break. We need to revisit it at another time. We need to focus in on something else so that we can just clear our mind of whatever it is over here, focus on this, and come back to this with fresh eyes, new eyes. That being one with like the networking that I just said of like, we're going to kind of pause on that a little bit, but then also on the podcasting or this business was when we made the decision, like, we're going to have to like just pause doing that. Even the like business article that would normally come out tomorrow, we were like, if we want to really push on this, we need to pause some of these good things and figure out like, we need to focus on this to get the business going, to get further. Like, we really have to do these things. So we're going to pause on this, focus over here, get this up and running, and then we can slowly kind of bring things back to one another thing and merge them together, or really figure out like what is the most important for our business, for our lives. And that's something you can be doing too, is like analyzing the different parts in your life and being like, how are things going? Or maybe like this thing that I was super excited about is not going that well. So even though I thought it would be good, and I feel like everyone wants it to be good for me, because that is a very popular thing once you start talking to people about your life or showing it on social media, and being like, you know what, it's okay to pause on this. I'm going to take a break. For myself personally, I've been going to the gym since like fall of last year. And then like this last month, I haven't had time. I haven't had the drive to go, the determination. I'm doing so much with this business, morning job I'm working. I'm going to be starting another like side project, doing voiceover stuff likely this week. So for me, I'm like, I need to pause going to the gym. Like, it's really sad because for me, that is a great way to get energy out, to, just feel good about being tired from working myself as hard as I can. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what's best for me is that I do need to get a good amount of sleep. I need to focus in on all of these different projects, make sure I can stay swimming and afloat while I do that. And at the same time, I don't want to just be paying for this gym to be taking my money if I'm not going, which that's how gyms run if you don't know. Like, most people don't actually go and they still charge their full amounts. So that's what I need to do this week, is go ahead and actually cancel that, or freeze it. I think I'm going to cancel it though, because I'm like, I don't want you to have any hope of taking my money again. Not to say though that I won't eventually go back to working out, but at this time, for probably this next quarter, it's not on my plate of things to do. So hopefully that is helpful as you look into your own lives and seeing like, are there things that it would be beneficial to kind of take a break, step back, not saying that you have to always, not return to it, but just that idea of like, it's okay, take a break, give yourself some slack or some rest from whatever it is, because most likely you're doing a lot already out there. So be okay with that. And that's what we're going to leave you with today. You can think about that throughout your day-to-day and throughout the week, and really start looking at what are you doing and how are things going, and could I help myself out more if I took a break from doing something else. But we wish you the very best Monday you could have, a great Monday morning. And if you're wondering, I do have my coffee cup here. I tried out a new thing of standing because I was doing some other videos, like promotional stuff, and I'm like, I really like the full screen with me rather than being like, hi guys, happy Monday. So hopefully you enjoyed that as well, but I do have the cup if you were wondering. And just have a great day. Be filled with optimism for what's to come in the day and the week. Have a positive mindset. It really does help you go so much further in your day, throughout your life, keeping you healthy even. They have studies that show people who think positively and optimistically get better faster, or they just don't catch these colds, these viruses that are always looming, apparently, in our country. But we'll leave it with that before we get in trouble for talking too much. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you soon.